Lucious Lyran is a multi-talented actor, author, producer, recording artist, songwriter, high priest, and founder of the House of the Sacred Woman Mystery School. Lucious Lyran, aka LJ, has been in the entertainment business since the age of 16. He started out as a model, which led him to national commercials and guest star appearances in TV shows, wow, and pilots, as well as supporting and co-lead roles in feature films. In 2008, he went viral on YouTube with his sketch comedy character Curtis Cartwright. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. It actually has over 1 million views and counting. Wow, that's incredible. So as a recording artist, Lucious has been perfecting his penmanship as a songwriter for 7 years. And he came up with catchy hooks and realistic verses in his hip-hop poetry and R&B love-making music. His single, Hey Shorty, aired on the radio back in 2012. Wow, that's pretty cool. Okay, and I also got a little bit of a review here from Amazon. That's actually where I got that description from. And one of the people that bought his book posted here, wow, that was a very informational book. This book answered a lot of questions and I've had over the years about human origin and our interactions with extraterrestrials. I highly recommend this book. And they got rated it a 4 stars out of 5. So yeah, it sounds like his book's really good, and we're going to get some more information about it if you're thinking of picking it up. Let's see. Alright, there we go. So let's try the Skype call now. Hopefully he's still waiting. That took a little bit longer than I thought.
Man, honestly, it's been a journey, man. I would say since 2008. 2008 is when I became a researcher, and I started to study a lot of ancient texts. My background has really been, I guess, very like Bible based, and so that's where I started at, and I started to decode words in the Bible that you know, it brought me back to ancient Sumeria. And I had no, keep in mind, I didn't know anything about ancient Sumeria, didn't know anything about the Anunnaki or anything like that. I was just literally just doing I feel like basic word finding. I've studied Aramaic, I studied Greek, Hebrew, and it led me to the ancient Sumerian tablets. So yeah. So it's been since then, and then not till about 2012 is when I started to get more into the mysteries. I started to be involved in meditation, and from this meditation group, man, when I had basically allowed myself to open up, I started to tap into what I call soul memory, and so I started having these flashes of different things that have been recorded throughout history, and then I was able to find it through my research, through the visions that I was picking up during that time frame. So that's kind of like how I started, man. Oh my, yeah. I started writing, but believe it or not, man, right after the presidential election in 2016. So I started writing in November of 2016, but I already kind of pretty much had the book written, man, because a lot of the stuff that's inside the book is based on a lot of my notes that I've taken over the years that I basically made into a book, pretty much. So it didn't really take long to write. It took me about maybe 3 months to get it together, and then it was released April of 2017. So that was a release date on that. So that's when I began writing the book and stuff, and man, it's just been you know, it's kind of funny, man, because I never thought that I would actually ever, you know, write a book at all. So yeah, yeah. So that yeah. So I was inspired, man. It was a very intuitive moment to write this book in this particular time frame, especially based on the information that's inside of the book. So
sick. No, I hope to get a copy of the book soon.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, man, most definitely.
All right, so is everyone in the chat able to hear me now? Yeah, I think it's working. Just got a bit of an echo now, so let's fix that. Okay, so yeah, I did manage to get a few pictures ready here for the show, so people can see your book cover.
Awesome, yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, so pretty much, man, in the first book, I kind of go because my whole goal was to build a book that not only had facts in it, but that can also be a foundation to build upon. You know, because there's so much information out here, so many people saying this and that, and it was very important for me to write a factual book based on evidence and facts that we have, not so much based on a belief or based on faith, so to speak. You know, I wanted to really get down to factual information because I feel that's important because, you know, knowledge truly is power, man. And, you know, back in ancient times, you know, things were based on knowledge and wisdom, not so much on faith and belief. And so it was really important for me to make sure that I
Okay, it seems we just lost the guest.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, it just got cut out for a second.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, yeah, so I got the book cover here now. Did you want to tell us about how this was made?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Can you tell us about the book cover?
Oh, the book cover?
Yeah.
Yeah, the book cover, man. This it's kind of funny because I was trying to think. I wanted to have a book cover that was going to stand out because of the information that I'm talking about is obviously otherworldly. As you can see, you have the UFO ship that's beaming down light on a scroll, and it's on the scroll you see the Ankh, and the name on the scroll is Inky. And that's where I kind of wanted to grab people's attention on how, you know, the Anunnaki, you know, has a lot to do with our human history and stuff. And so the Book of Remembrance, there's actually a few passages in the Bible, actually, that talks about this Book of Remembrance, you know. And so I felt like, you know, things that I put in the book is to help people remember things that we have forgotten and stuff. Because I also talk about even things that are within our DNA that we don't know about. Because, you know, a lot of people don't focus on some of the scientific information that we have that also clarifies a lot of spiritual things that we experience and stuff. And so, like, for instance, one of the things I talk about in the introduction of the book is I talk about this this term that scientists use called junk DNA. Well, when you get into the Sumerian tablets, you find out that this junk DNA that lays dormant in all our bodies has something to do with the Anunnaki DNA that's found in every human body.
No kidding.
So that's something, and that's something that, you know, every human being can't even deny because we all have it. So then when you go into the Bible and it talks about, you know, like God being within us, or you know, when it speaks on the Elohim, we realize that part that I feel that, you know, how it speaks on, you know, man has been cut off to live a long time. Well, I feel like what's been cut off, it's what now lays dormant in our body, which scientists call junk DNA, which is shortening man's lifetime, because we haven't tapped back into that side of us, that part of us that's within us, you know. So
no, I don't really like the term junk DNA.
I don't,
because I think everything has a purse.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But, you know, I'm just using that term just because that's what scientists, but we understand that it's not, you know, it's not junk. There's no junk in the universe, man. So.
Yeah. So do you think the Anunnaki use like UFOs?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Do you think the Anunnaki use UFOs, like spaceships?
Clones?
Yeah, just 1 second. Yeah. My mic is starting to act.
Yeah.
Maybe did you want to tell us about any future project? Just while I fix this.
Yeah. So future project I'm working on right now is called the Disciples of Horus, and that's actually my second book that I'm working on right now. And kind of jumping back into the first book. Yeah. The first book initially was supposed to be 13 chapters, man, and I had to cut it down to 5, or else it would have been like a novel. It would have been like over 500 pages. So I had to cut it. Yeah, I had to cut it down to 5 chapters, and try to hit some of the main points to build upon. Because once the Disciples of Horus comes in, that's going to be something that's going to basically take it on the level that I wanted to in the first book. But I cut it down because I didn't want to be a book where it's like, wow, this is like too much information. I can't handle all this stuff. Kind of like a breather, you know. So I figured I kind of like split it up into 2 book series. So that's the next project that's coming out. Yeah.
And do you sell the book on your website or just Amazon? Well,
okay. So on the website, there's a link to Amazon, and so the book is on Amazon, both Kindle and paperback, as well. So that's where people can get the book at. And then also too, I have some book signing parties coming up towards the fall time here in LA. So that's another project that I'm working on.
Sick.
So people have been in person. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So the next thing I wanted to get to is some questions about the Anunnaki and the Magi. Have you studied the Magi at all? Or?
Well, I've studied like a little bit of the Magi. To me, the Magi represents people who have been through the mystery schools, and the mystery schools have been around since ancient Sumerian time. You know.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean the Magi are also the Essenes. All the different mystery schools in Egypt. So all the mystery schools that were set in Babylon. You know, we have many different civilizations that had a lot of mystery schools set up.
Yeah.
That were taught. Yeah. So
one thing I'm really curious about too is like Anunnaki. A lot of people talk about them coming from outer space or other dimensions, like a shamanic realm.
Yeah.
Do you lean towards one view or the other?
Well, I kind of lean towards the fact that they did arrive and did come here from outer space, and there's so much evidence of that fact, that we have.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of cover up, which is one of the things why I talked about the 18th dynasty, because out of all historical records that Egypt had, why was the 18th dynasty specifically tried to be erased on purpose? What is it that you're trying to hide? And don't tell me that you're trying to hide the fact that these were, sun worshippers. No, it has something way deeper to do than just being sun worshippers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because people say the winged disc is the sun,
right.
But often it's drawn between the sun and the moon.
Right.
So that seems a little weird.
Right. Yeah. Not only that though, but then also too, when you look at the Aten temple that Akhenaten built, the Aten temple was facing the west, not the east. All sun temples were all built to face the east, not the west. This one was specifically made to face the west, and that's of very significance because of the next circle around of what people call Nibiru or Planet X was going to come from the west. So what he was doing was something that was very prophetic, of a prophetic time period that was coming back around. And then when you get into the Emerald Tablets, Akhenaten and Tahuti, aka Thoth, said the same thing. Said the same thing about the sun rising in the west. Now think about that. Now, what is the sun rising in the west? And some people are like, oh, well, that means that when the planet shifts, the sun will start to rise in the west. Well, I think that it's talking about a different sun, not the actual sun that we see right now in the sky. Because we have the Vatican have a $1 billion telescope that they call Lucifer that sits on Mount Graham facing the west. What are you looking for?
Yeah, such a weird name.
Whatever you look for. You're right. You're not looking for the actual sun. You're not looking for that. You're looking for a heavenly body that has appeared, through many different lifetimes that we've had, and through different ages too. Which is something that was going on significantly back in 1942 as well, because the Vatican was kind of getting scared of a few things because of this heavenly disk body that was appearing in the sky during the time frame. And then you got then we get into going into the early 80s where you started to have astronomers start to talk about this other heavenly body that they were seeing that was coming in. So what are you covering up? That seems more like a physical thing that's approaching than something that has been kind of mystified in a sense.
Yeah. To me, something suspicious with the Vatican, because the church was always at war with the ancient pagans.
Of course.
Yeah, but it seems like the religion of theirs came from the pagans, so they often try to hide the connection to them and sever it. I noticed that with Judaism as well, the Kabbalah. It's like the pagan version of Judaism, and it's forbidden, right?
Yeah. Well, you know what's, I kid you not, man. This is what led me. So when I was studying the Torah, and I was studying like King Solomon and David and everything, when I was going back, to their Hebrew names, or their Phoenician names, really, Aramaic, it led me to Egyptian pharaohs. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. So when we talk about King David, we're talking about Thutmose IV. And then when we speak on King Solomon, we're talking about Amenhotep III. And kid you not, just based on breaking down their names will lead you back into these Egyptian pharaohs. And then what's funny is that these Egyptian pharaohs are linked to the Anunnaki.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and I was like, wow. And then once I realized that, then once I started to go back into the book of Genesis and the early parts of the first 5 books, then I'm like, okay, the Elohim is who the Anunnaki are.
Yeah.
And that's,
I agree with that one too.
Yeah, that's where we get our stories from. So exactly. The Sumerian in Egypt is really based on Lemuria and Atlantis, because one significant thing in the 18th dynasty that Akhenaten did, that he put in his when he was revolutionary on the artwork that was being done, he had the Lotus Flower. And when you go back and you read about ancient Atlantis, especially when you get into the Emerald Tablets, that was actually one of Atlantis' symbol was the Lotus Flower. And Akhenaten made sure that that symbol was in a lot of his art, that Lotus Flower, which is very Atlantean symbolic, symbolically.
Yeah, I've actually got a slide here with that Lotus Flower. I'll see if I can find it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up, because the Lotus Flower has a little bit of shamanic properties to it as well, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's quite as strong as the other plants and herbs used in other cultures, but it still has it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, did you research King Tut at all for the book, or is he in there?
Yeah, King Tut is actually in there. Yeah, man. Yeah, he's definitely in the book. Uh,
So he would be the son of Akhenaten then, or
yes. Uh-huh.
okay.
Yes. Yes. There's other books that people can look into. But when you study things that are being found, and this is why I feel that a lot of things were erased. By me piecing my research puzzles together, man. In the book, I speak about how I feel that Jesus' story is based on King Tut. So I
Yeah,
speak
I
on,
could see
yeah,
that.
yeah.
It's a pretty wild theory, though, right?
It is, but it makes a lot of sense when you connect the dots. I feel because the word Mary in Egypt means beloved, and both Nefertiti and King Tut's wife were called Mary. So I
Oh
thought
yeah.
that would be very interesting. Yeah, yeah.
I was thinking about those shamanic plants too, and I was wondering how, like a question from one of the viewers was asking, was there any connection to cannabis in the ancient Egyptians, like
Oh yeah, yeah,
marijuana?
yeah. Yeah, there's oh my gosh, I've actually seen a few hieroglyphs that show a cannabis flower on there. So yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah, I think I've seen that one.
yeah, there's even been archaeologists that said that even some of the pharaohs' tombs that they found, they were buried and they had cannabis buried inside the tombs, man. Yeah,
Wow.
so so cannabis has been around for a while, man. It's been a long time. I feel like cannabis is something that actually came from the Anunnaki. They brought that here. So
Yeah, it's almost like they genetically engineered the planet to have the plants needed to contact them, or sort of thing, right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. I definitely feel that.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then some guests in the chat were asking too if the show is going to be posted up to YouTube right away, and that'll be after the show is completed. So I'll try to edit any of the glitches out before then too.
Yeah.
Okay, and I was thinking King Tut has a bit of a connection to South America. Have you ever seen that before, or like
Yeah,
what is it, Pakal's tomb lid?
Foucault's tomb. Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah, the feather serpent. Well, King Tut has also a connection to Thoth. You know, so in the book I speak about how I feel that Akhenaten and Tut has a lot to do with Tahuti, or who we call Thoth. You
Ah,
know. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
yeah.
so so.
I'm just gonna put a little image on the screen here so that the viewers get an idea of the connection I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Paul's tomb lid is often referred to as like an ancient astronaut theory.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And then if you take Tut's chair and compare it, it's got the flames on the bottom. He's
Yeah.
holding his hands on control type things. The Ankh is called the breath of life, and Pakal has a nose piece going to his nose.
Yeah.
And then the bird, like the winged disc on the top of the Egyptian version, is actually the same on Pakal's, except the bird is sitting sideways on a perch instead of face on. So it's like, holy crap, there's a lot of connections there, right?
Oh yeah, man. Well, Tahuti, man, he when you get into Tahuti, you start to realize that this particular being, man, his soul split three times, which is why he called himself thrice born.
Ah,
So there's been different time periods where Tahuti was physically here in three different bodies. Yeah, I mean that's very deep to me. It's like, okay, how did he know how to do that? You know, but
yeah.
Tahuti, you can find Tahuti everywhere, man. He said that he reincarnated 2,000 times. So if that's the case, then he's been South America, Africa, Europe, Asia, everywhere,
Yeah.
everywhere, and you see his symbols and his obviously his link to Inky everywhere, and the Anunnaki everywhere. Because he was the one that stayed behind during what we know as the Dark Ages, which I would call the Age of Pisces, which is the age that we're now coming about of. And when you get towards the end of the Emerald Tablets, he speaks about the time of light coming back around, which is the lifetime that we're living as of today, because we are, and we have been ending the age of Pisces and going into Aquarius, which this, think about it, the blood moon lunar eclipse that we just had yesterday, or just last night, within Aquarius, bro. Now,
that's right.
Right. Now, this is what's interesting when you take it on an astrological standpoint, is that the last time that Atlantis was around was during the age of Aquarius.
Oh.
Now, how interesting is that? That we come around full circle, just like Tahuti prophesied.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So that's why we're having climate changes and why, you know, things outside of planet Earth is shifting and changing, and why we're starting to find certain things, because the time of revelation or the time of revealing is taking place, just as these ancient scriptures or these ancient prophecies have spoken about. So it's a very exciting time period right now that we get to be around and see things that a lot of us have all forgotten. You know, which is why the remembrance is coming back, because, you know, our soul carries remembrance of all the different lifetimes that we live and stuff. And so, you know, there will be a time period in certain events that would happen, even astrologically, that I feel is going to unite and spark within us that remembrance of, whoa, wait a minute. Okay, wait, I remember, you know, when this happened and that happened, you know, so it's all, you know, intertwined together, man. You know, so
I was going to say, I'm glad that you mentioned prophecy, because Crazy Horse, one of the First Nations people here, he has a prophecy about the sacred tree, and then the sacred tree is supposed to come back and unite mankind during our darkest age. And then that slide I was going to put up that shows the lotus and how the ancient Egyptians and the other cultures used to contact the Anunnaki were holding on to the lotus. So I was just going to put that up on the screen to show people.
Yeah.
And then it's often like, if you go from the Anunnaki version to ones that they used in Assyria, it's connected to the sacred tree, just like Crazy Horse's prophecy. And you find it with the Canaanites, the Phoenicians, different cultures in pagan Europe, and then also the King Tut on his spear.
Yeah.
And geez, it's really something else to have all those connections coming together in so many different cultures, just like Crazy Horse's prophecy, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, we have to understand that the Anunnaki, they have influenced the whole world. You know what I mean? All of us have been influenced by these beings. And so, yeah, man, it's beautiful now that we have the technology to be able to connect like this and to cross-reference. Because think about it, the reason why, one of the main reasons why we went into the Dark Age is because knowledge like this was lost for a very long time, because it was controlled by, you know, certain groups and stuff. So now that we have the internet, we're able to, like, you know, speak to people, you know, in other countries and be like, oh, okay, I can cross-reference this with the information that I have over here, and then we can start verifying a lot of things and be like, okay, we can verify this, so let's build upon this particular fact that we do know. And so that's where I guess my philosophy kind of comes into in regards to building upon the factual information that we have that's concrete, and build upon that, because that's going to also take us into some deeper levels of confirmation, you know, on things that have been hidden for us. Because I feel like this foundation will relieve us from a lot of stuff that we've been programmed and what we've been taught, you know, because a lot of things were taught to be mystified on purpose, or to seem mythos on purpose, you know, because of the fact that this whole thing has been a experimental test, you know, for over 3,000 years, man. And we get this information from Emerald Tablets. We get it from, some of Enki's prophecies, some of the things that Mark Duke spoke about, some of the things that have been written on Egyptian walls. There's even things that you find even in some of the Osiris temples that speak about how the Egyptians were going to be scattered across the world, and they were not going to remember anything, and how someone would become slaves, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, wow, that's the same thing that the Bible says about the Israelites.
Yeah.
So it's like, because we do know that Constantine and Julius Caesar in Rome did invade Egypt. And you get what I'm saying? And so this is where the whole Roman Catholic Church and the whole system came about, was during the reign of the Council of Nicaea. So
yeah, that's when they started taking all the books that were finding in the Dead Sea
Yeah.
Scrolls now, right?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So it's like man has created mythos, for control, because there have been humans that have been trying to control other humans, man. And I think that's a realization that we need to realize and accept. I feel like humanity points the finger at everything else besides itself. And we've come to a time frame, man, where I feel like we need to take responsibility for our own actions and understand that it's been humans trying to control other humans. So therefore, we need to correct that, and not look upon, something outside of Earth or something outside of ourselves to correct it when we're supposed to correct it. This is part of the reason why the Anunnaki left us here, to, not only rule over ourselves, but to also, lift up and cultivate the planet, because this once was an advanced civilization, and we have degressed so much from that to me, man, it seems like back then is more of an ancient future than an ancient past that we once lived in, because anything that is advanced is futuristic. Just as if we're going to take it on a dimensional level, we say, okay, we're going to go into the fifth dimension. Okay, well, understand that the fifth dimension is something futuristic. Okay, you know what I mean? So we're going into futuristic times. So ancient times was something that was futuristic, not so much of a past. This right here is more of a past, because man has degressed and has become more barbaric, because this is not an advanced civilization that we live in, man. You know what I mean? We don't take care of the planet. We don't take care of each other. Humans have not realized that just because you're a different skin color doesn't mean that you're a different species group. Human is one species. Exactly. If you're human, that's your species group. And people are getting this all confused, man. So we have a lot of correcting to do, and we can do it, man. We can do it. And this is all part of, my movement and why I started, my organization and stuff, man, to show that, man, we're all one, because we're all in the human body. It doesn't matter if our soul, some of our souls don't originate from here. We have some souls that originate from Earth, and we have souls that don't originate from Earth, And so by us all being in a human body, this is our way of all connecting and accepting each other, man. This is more of the divine plan of acceptance, man. All of us coming from all different parts of the universe, that we're all in one body, and that one body that we're in is called human.
No, I hope more people come to this conclusion, right?
Yeah, man. So that's the message and the hope that I'm looking to spread and uniting people, man. And to bring us all together.
The way the world is playing out, it almost seems like it's been orchestrated for this to happen, though, right? Because, like, Crazy Horse's prophecy about the Sacred Tree couldn't have happened unless we reached this dark age, right?
Yeah. Well, it's coming up out of darkness and going into the light, man. And we're going into light because of the fact that we're able to get knowledge that we didn't have access to before. You know what I mean? To think about how much knowledge is being brought up to the surface now than ever before.
No, like we're so lucky, yeah. Like Wikipedia, the internet, Facebook. Like only like 10 or 20 years ago, you had about 1% of the available knowledge that we do today. It's incredible, really.
Right, yeah, it is, man. Yeah. So
I was thinking we've been going on for a little while, and I wouldn't mind to get our break in so that everyone can see the video that you prepared.
Yeah, awesome.
After the break, we'll come back and touch on the Mother Goddess or any other parts you want to finish up on the rest, okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, and when I play the video, the viewers are going to be able to hear the sound, but you won't. But we're still going to hear you talking, so if you want to mute your microphone, then that might help.
Okay, I'll do that.
All right, so we'll be back shortly after the break.
Though he requires only one divine ladder for himself, not one, but two ascenders are raised together. Both, the Eye of Ra and the Eye of Horus, are prepared and put into position. One on the wing of Thoth, and the other one on the wing of Set. To the puzzled king, the gods explain that the second boat is for the son of Aten, a god, descendant of the winged disc Nibiru, the god to whom the king has spoken in the chamber. The Eye of Horus is mounted upon the wing of Set. The cables are tied, the boats are assembled, that the son of the Aten be not without a boat. The king is with the son of Aten, and he is now without a boat. Equipped as a god, the king is assisted by two goddesses who seize his cables to step into the Eye of Horus. Making a $5 donation today, you will have a chance to win this beautiful Kintat replica donated by the Hatshepsut Museum in Luxor, Egypt. For more information, visit our website at otsw13.com. Thank you.
Wow, that was a really sick video.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Did you put that all together yourself, or?
No, I had someone do that for me, man. Yeah, and a couple people. Yeah, so that's a shout out to Shiloh and Sammy for that one. So
okay,
did a good job. Yeah, Shiloh, she put the video together for me, and Sammy was the one that did the voiceover. So
nice.
Big shout out to them for that. Yeah.
I just got a couple of questions from the viewers that I noticed in the chat, maybe before we keep going.
Yeah.
Question from Curtis. He's asking, what's Lucious's take on the Egyptian elongated skulls and the connection possibly to Paraka's skulls?
Oh yeah. Well, that connection, man, and that kind of goes back to the 18th dynasty, how you see, Akhenaten's family had elongated skulls. Yeah. And to me, based on the research that I come across, man, this has a lot to do with the Atlanteans. And when you go into the to the Anunnaki stories and some of the tablets, you know, the Anunnaki and also went to South America, and you have a lot of symbols in Peru and Ecuador and stuff like that. So, you know, they're both linked together because the Anunnaki were both not only Egypt, but also they were in South America and everything. So that's where that extra genetic gene, you know, was that extra cranial that calls that crane, which, okay, I guess I'm going to get into it. So, are you familiar with hearing about like the Syrians and the Palladians?
The Syrians, yes.
Okay, so the beings that have more of the elongated skulls is a serious connection. So we can say like these beings are from Sirius, and yeah, and why is because when you look at a lot of the symbols that they have put on the ancient walls, it's all linked to the Sirius star system.
Yeah. No, and often Draco as well, right?
That's another that's another. But dude, that's such a whole nother show. You can't even really, you know, get into it. But that's pretty much, yeah. The connection is has a lot to do with Syrian DNA. You know, yeah.
Another question that comes up often too is like there a connection here at all to the giants or the red-haired giants we keep hearing about all over the world?
Yeah, man. You know, those giants. Let's kind of break down this. The word Anunnaki, because people think, and I know it, you know, it's kind of been taught this way too, that the Anunnaki is just this one particular group, but this group is made up of different star beings that come from all different parts of the universe. Okay, so the Redhaired Giants, based on research that I've come across and what I've found, are linked to more of beings that come from Orion and that come from Lyra. So these are more like Lyran and Orion beings that are part of our, you know, our universal family that have visited Earth before, and so a lot of their genetic remains are, you know, are within our planet. But like Earth is so filled with not only richness but so many records of even a lot of off-planetary things. Because, like, for instance, I'll give you a prime example. When you get into Thutmose the Fourth, and you read about things that were going on during that time frame, because once again, that was still during the 18th dynasty, you find out that they were doing trade between Mars and Earth. Now, how are you trading between Mars and Earth if you're not connecting with beings that are outside of this planetary system, right? And there's hieroglyphs that show that this was going on, this was taking place between Earth and Mars, you know. And all of a sudden, lately, you know, we've been having documents coming out like, oh yeah, there's been structures on Mars, and oh yeah, there's other things on Mars that we're not talking about and stuff. So,
like Sidonia, right?
Huh?
Like the Sidonia pyramids?
Yeah, man. Yeah. So I also feel that part of the early parts of Atlantis records are also left on Mars, and then they got brought down here to Earth. So that's yeah. Which I plan to talk about this more in the second book. So
okay.
Yeah. So we'll
jump over too. I forgot to ask you about your name, and then you just mentioned Lyran there. So I was going to ask you, what's the story behind that?
Okay, so it's my star connection that I have soul-wise to Lyra. And, you know, what's very interesting, man, was that when I had released the book, on my birthday last year. And on my birthday, there was a meteor shower that happened in Lyra.
Yes.
Right? And then I released my book. I thought that was pretty cool. That was very unique. to get that kind of
Synchronicity.
that kind of confirmation, man. Like, wow. So Lucious Lyran is a name that came to me a couple years ago, and I was in meditation, and I was told to name myself that because of what it means, and my name means the lion within the sun. So that's what Lucious Lyran means, is the lion within the sun.
Oh, okay, yeah, that is really cool.
Yeah, so it's very unique. Yeah.
Cool. I've got a couple more questions here from the group, I guess,
Okay.
Or viewers. I'll just check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Someone was asking about the flat Earth stuff. I'm not really too much into that, other than the ancient pagans used to Earth just because of the levels of the sacred tree, the different dimensions. I don't think they actually meant the Earth was flat. They're just referring to the different planes. But so that's what someone was asking about there. I figured I'd just cover it. And I guess are you familiar with genes at all, I guess, with these elongated skulls? Or I guess that research is still kind of...
Well, the genes, and this is something that I feel like it's going to take more of the alchemist people that are into science to really crack this. But that gene or that genetic code is what's in our dormant DNA, because humans haven't fully evolved to our fullest potential physically because of the fact that that particular gene lays dormant in our body. So those beings that are being found, we can say are more of they are a older version of like a human hybrid until things got kind of, let's say, genetically corrected to bring us to what we look like as of today. And that was something that taken some periods of time, with what Enki and some of the other Anunnaki were working on when it comes to our genetic makeup, man. And it talks about it in the tablets. I mean, we have a lot of stuff in the tablets that kind of speak on that. So, but I feel, and part of my the thing that I plan to do with my organization is to build a scientific team to dive deep more into the to that DNA strand that lays dormant. Now, this is what I find very interesting, because I know a lot of people, like to think that it had something to do with the ape, but when Enki first came here, there was no land here. So how was there ever any mammal that was ape-like? Now, the only mammal that is very close to our chromosomes. Now, here's something that's very important. This is something that they don't speak on when they talk about, like, oh, yeah, we came from apes, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, okay, how? Nobody speaks on that. But when you take the chromosomes of a dolphin, they have 48, and we have 46. Now, science has already proven that at one point, we had 48 chromosomes. And then something genetically happened that densed us down to 46. Yeah. So it's almost like we have a more of a closer connection with dolphins. So I don't know. That's just yeah.
I've heard the theory in, like, what is it, Sitchin's work, that mankind was here to mine gold, and then I heard stories about a chiropractor saying that he developed a technique to adjust people's spine so that it would unlock some of this. And apparently the Anunnaki actually hindered us so that we wouldn't evolve to a certain point to rival them. Have you heard anything about that?
Well, the thing, it's almost like if you created a group of beings to think for themselves and things like that, just think about it.
Yeah. Like
think about Think about how humanity is today. We don't love each other, man. We don't love each other how we should. We're not peaceful how we should be, And so why should humanity be allowed to have any of these extra capabilities when we haven't even learned to get along with each other just as the human race?
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean? So I think that that was a very wise decision to cut that part off until we could show the ones who created us that, you know, we could handle ourselves in a very peaceful manner and not be so chaotic towards each other, man. Because think about it, man. We were able to do all this crazy stuff, and then if we were able to leave this planet and not have the Ring of Fire be almost like a quarantine system around this planet, you know, we would have been surpassed a lot of stuff. But because we don't even know how to get along as the human race, why should we be allowed to crack anything? Yeah. You know, until we understand that we are one in regards to us being one in the human race. It doesn't matter about which different path that we all take, because we're all here to experience life. And life is multiple paths, man. Life is not just one path. You get what I'm saying? Although there is certain truths that deal with all of us, but then there are certain paths that we each take to understand the multiple dimensions of life, man. And that's what we're here to experience. And I feel like we demonize the physical so much, and we worship the god of death so much, which is part of the reason why we don't live as long as we should. You know, because a lot of our mindset is thinking like, oh, I'm trapped here, this is punishment, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's not. It's really not. And it's mankind that has made it more of an entrapment than, you know, something outside of mankind, you know, yeah. Whether it be God or the Anunnaki, whatever, you know, people want to path, whatever people want to go down, you know. It's a little bit deeper, and I think a little bit bigger than that, man. And, you know, once we're able to take responsibility for ourselves, man, and to bring more love back to the planet, man, you know, we're going to see major changes and major shifts happen than we ever see before. But all this arguing about who has the right knowledge, or if this particular group is more spiritual because they're Kemetic, or that's silly shit. And this is why, you know, because of it, you know, that's the reason why we haven't advanced, man.
Yeah, exactly. No, I was thinking that too. It's like maybe the Anunnaki are on the dark side of the moon. They're watching us this whole time, seeing if we're going to reach a point where we should be contacted again.
Well, keep in mind, who's to say that the Anunnaki, some of them aren't inside inner Earth? Well, that's a whole other subject.
Yeah, that's actually one of the questions.
You know what I'm saying?
Stormy in the chat there. She was just asking about the inner Earth.
Oh, yeah, the Anunnaki were there. Absolutely. Them, and also, you know, other star beings, other star tribes as well, man. Yeah, it's deep. It's this planet, put it this way, this planet used to be a paradise. This was heaven. You know, this was a heaven. This was a paradise, man. We had, you know, star beings from all over the place used to come here to Earth specifically because this was like paradise. This was like a vacation within the beings that, you know, live within this part of the universe, man. So it's like, it's so much stuff that we haven't even realized, you know, that has become mythos, man. So, yeah.
No, we're just starting to scratch the surface, and it's like we're coming into the golden age of knowledge. So things are going to start changing for the better. Let's hope.
Oh yes, man. I'm so looking forward to that, man. You know, but it begins with like people like us, man. You know, speaking about this information and doing it more in a loving fashion, man. You know what I mean? So
too many people get caught up in the arguments about it, I guess.
Yeah.
I've been seeing a lot of that on Facebook lately, and it's really disappointing to see it. We should try harder to work together, but I guess maybe the heat wave is contributing to that. Tempers are on edge and everything, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, a lot of things astrologically is going on, man, and that's also too when you study the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki were very keen on astrological events and signs taking place in the sky.
Exactly.
So, because a lot of.
Just gonna say, before we run out of time too much, we should probably jump on to the mother goddess.
Yeah.
Did you want to tell me a little bit more about that? And that's your website too, as well, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So, this is my favorite thing to talk about, man. Talk about the Mother Goddess, because this is a being, a source that is not only just powerful and full of just love, unconditional love, man. I've never felt before, and I had this experience with the Mother Goddess back in 2012, transitioning over to 2013, man. There was a priestess who I met in this meditation group, and she opened me up to the Mother Goddess, man, when I had this encounter. And beforehand, I didn't know goddesses even existed. I just, the way I was raised and stuff, it was always masculine and male, but the divine feminine aspect is something that has been hidden for a long time. And when I was studying historical information, 30,000 years before the patriarchal movement happened, God was female. The divine creator, the creator of all, was a feminine being who was able to birth both the masculine and feminine energies. And even when you look into science, women birth both energies, both masculine and feminine energies, all come throughout the womb, and we live.
I was just gonna say, I noticed some ancient texts where they refer to God as like an androgynous being that was both sexes, right? And then as time progressed, it seemed like it switched to man only. Right?
Yeah, well, to me, I feel like, and this is just, my own personal knowing, is that I feel like the true androgynous being is feminine. And the reason why I say that is because this is the only being that I know that can birth, different, two different energies.
Another realm, right?
Yeah, exactly. And women don't realize how important they are. I mean, none of us would be here if it wasn't for us being inside the womb. Exactly. Same thing how we can look at even just Mother Earth, man. This is like a womb. And I know a lot of people say, oh, we live in the Matrix. And to me, I feel like we don't live in the Matrix. We live in a Patrix. Why? Because there is no mother, information, or no matriarchal influences going on. There is no balance. It's all patriarchal. It's all this war and barbaricism. And I feel like a lot of the falsehood that the Council of Nicaea portrayed of the divine masculine is what is the knowledge that we have of today. You know what I mean? We really don't even have the true knowledge of even just the divine masculine, because that has been erased and scratched away. Because if you notice, the divine masculine always had a goddess or a queen with him. And we know just based on just the Osiris and Isis story. Even when you go into the ancient Sumerian text, Enki, although he was the one that came up with the idea of creating mankind, but he needed the help of Ninhursag. You know what I'm saying? Who is the mother goddess. So at the end of the day, it was Ninhursag who fashioned man. Yeah, and we have that documented. Yeah, have it documented. So it's and then the book of Remembrance, chapter 2, it's dedicated to the Mother Goddess, and I speak on not only the spiritual connection but also the physical connection, because I like to try to be in what I call spiritual science, man. I feel like spiritual science is what the ancient way was. It was taking the unseen and verifying it within the seen, and we can still do that as today. There's things today that even was spoken in hieroglyphic information and then the tablets that we can verify through our scientific technology that we have. Mind blowing, man. That to me, I feel is mind blowing. And we can build upon that. Because it's evidence and it's concrete. It's not a belief, and it's not faith. It's just a knowing. And you know, ancient wisdom was all about having the knowing and having the knowledge. You know, wasn't really based on a belief. You know, we knew things, and we built upon the knowledge that we knew, which is why we had an advanced civilization. You know, so that's what I feel.
Cool. No, when you were talking about that, it made me think of Akhenaten a bit, because when I was reading up on him, it said that he returned to the ancient religion and he was trying to revive it. But then after he was gone, they said, "Oh, no more of that. We're going back to what we were before." And maybe that's what Akhenaten did, is he returned to the mother goddess religion.
Well, yeah. Well, so Aten, when you go into, and I'm gonna touch on that. So Aten, when you some of the pre-dynasty texts talks about how Aten has to do with the mother and son, which deals with Aset and Horus, or Heru. Okay, and it's interesting that when you research things about the Isis temple or Aset's temple in Egypt, when Rome came in and invaded, and Constantine and all those guys were there, they not only took out a prophecy that dealt with the mother goddess and her son, but they also split out her temple. And apparently that prophecy that was taken out of stone is now hidden underneath the Vatican. So what is that about?
So is that like...
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. I think a lot of it has to do with Inanna, and it has to do with Ninhursag, man. You know.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, man. So because I mean, there's a lot of things, and people probably wonder, like, well, why do you maybe credit Zechariah Stitch, for instance? Because I know he gets a lot of heat. Let's say this: for a man who spent 30 years researching before he wrote his first book, nobody shouldn't say anything. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Nobody should be discrediting or anything like that, because who's done 30 years of research of breaking down languages and things like that and be able to present this information to us? Now, I'm not saying that some of the stories haven't maybe been fabricated just for reading purposes, just to kind of fill in, have some fillers. Yeah. Right, yeah. But for someone who took 30 years of research, I'm going to pay attention to that person, because he took 30 years to write his first book. It took me 10 years to write my first book. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I have a little respect.
I've often defended Sitchin on Facebook a lot too, because a lot of people will criticize his first book and then say it wasn't very accurate and he was off in translations. But he lived up until he was 90, and he was writing the whole time. And his last book, he updated a lot of stuff to match the new translations. So if you're going to criticize his first book, you should really go to the last one and see when he upgraded it, right?
Right, exactly. Now here's someone, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, too, it's like he lived in the age before the internet, so it's like he was going to have to do all this research, basically traveling, going to libraries. He wasn't able to just sit there and type and find everything out.
Right, yeah. Exactly, man. And someone who could actually confirm a lot of his work is a man by the name of Mario Belingo. Have you ever heard of him?
Yeah, the Vatican former translator.
Yeah, buddy. Let me tell you something. One thing I pay attention to is whatever the Vatican is doing, pay attention to. Just like that telescope that's on Mount Graham, and just like if you're going to hire a world-renowned translator, and if he's saying that these ancient texts have something to do with beings that didn't come from here, just like what Stitchin said, I mean, come on, man. We have a modern-day person that's saying the same thing. It's like, we have to get out of our beliefs and get out of what we've been taught and take a few things into consideration and stuff, because this is healing, I feel. It's been healing for me to come to this revelation, for me individually, because I was brought up a certain way, and if you would have told me any of this stuff maybe 10 years ago, I would be laughing right now, just like how everybody else is, But when you really take the time and you dive into it, it's like, wow, I can't deny it, because I'm not even going off of my opinion. I'm not even going off of just even a belief. I'm going by what has been documented and what has been inscribed 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. How can I just overlook that and be like, oh, that doesn't mean nothing? They were primitive. No, they were not. How can you be advanced and be primitive? That makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
You know, it takes a little bit of some logical thinking too.
Now,
You know?
for any of the viewers that haven't heard about the translator for the Vatican we're talking about, is basically his story was he was doing translations, and then the Vatican didn't quite agree with his connections to
Mm-hmm.
the ancient Sumerians and
Yeah.
pagan beliefs. So he ended up getting fired for that, but he stuck to his guns and he was like, I'm not
Yeah.
changing it. I'm going to keep telling people what it really says.
Yeah. Yeah. There's actually a book. You can pick up his first book because his first book is it's in English, and I actually reference him in my book actually because I took like I said a lot of sources and reference them in the book so people can find it because that's also too the book is also kind of like a little study guide in the sense to where people can the information that's in there they can literally go and find the stuff online and find it in other books. You know what I mean? And when you start just piecing other books and where things have been documented in stone, I'm a type of person where I'm going to pay attention to what's in stone, not what somebody can just erase and just rewrite by a pen.
Yeah, makes
You know
more
what I
sense.
mean? Yeah, yeah,
One of the viewers was pointing out that the Vatican telescope is called Lucifer, and I think
yeah,
that's like an acronym for large something.
yeah. It's an acronym. I can't remember what the acronym is for, but if you think about it,
I'm sure they could have
Lucifer.
called it something else if they really wanted.
Right, right. They could have, but we also know. Check this out, though. See, Lucifer is also in reference to the sun, but we know we're talking about the sun. It's a different kind of a sun, and there's been ancient records that talk about when this heavenly body has appeared within our sky. It looks like a second sun in our sky, and there's been a lot of prophecies that talk about this second sun coming back and the sun rising in the west. So
Oh, the second sun. Yeah, that reminds me too. It's like there's a
yeah,
theory going that this was all also talking about Sirius, and the Dogon talked about how there was like more than one sun in the Sirius star system. So people are
yeah,
wondering if maybe like Nibiru is orbiting this second sun that we haven't even detected yet because it's on the dark side of or the opposite side of the sun from Earth.
well, we can almost say that Nibiru system brings in its own solar system in a sense. If there's seven heavenly body planets and 10 moons that orbited, and that when this body comes in, they said it looks like a dragon in the sky. Well, that kind of almost sounds like Revelation, right? Remember, Revelation talks about a dragon, 10 horns, 7 heads, or something like that, or whatever. I can't remember the whole scripture, but it's like, wow, you are talking about something astrologically. You're talking about astronomy. So, a lot of things in the book of Revelation is based on astronomy, is based on astrology.
That's
So
pretty well too, like the
yeah,
dragon or Draco connection. And then I've been
yeah,
researching Draco Ring of Fire, where we have the most earthquakes actually matches the Draco constellation. So it seems like there's some influences in the heavens affecting Earth, and if
oh
earthquakes
yeah,
are really connected to end times, then that would explain the whole dragon Draco correlation.
yeah, oh yeah, man, yeah, most definitely.
No, it's weird too
Another
because like the moon always affects the tides and stuff, so we got affect the Earth, but we haven't applied it to
astrology, man. When you do your own personal natal chart, at the end of the Dark Ages, that he was going to rule the age of Aquarius, which is tied into Enki. So it's deep, man. Like the Anunnaki use astrology, and yeah, if we start to incorporate, we'll start to understand them a little bit more too.
I just put a little bit of a new slide on the screen here for the viewers. And I noticed a connection too with the Magi and Jesus and following stars for guidance. And isn't it funny that like the Bible never mentions the Magi again interacting with Jesus?
I know, right?
There's like 15 missing years. So a lot of people are suggesting, hey, if the Magi were the first people to teach him, likely they were going to come back again and not just abandon him for the rest of his life, right? So that's where the missing years comes in, I think.
You know what's interesting about that too, man? Have you ever read this book called The Flower of Life? It's written by Melchizedek.
I might have heard about it, but
The
Flower of Life I've definitely heard of, but I don't know about if it was the same book.
Okay,
like
in the Flower
or whatever,
yeah. Oh my gosh, I can't. All I know is that this guy's last name is Melchizedek because he says that he comes from the school or the priesthood of Melchizedek.
Okay.
Because he talked about Akhenaten in his book, and Akhenaten was the one who started the Essenes.
Oh,
now,
yeah, the Essenes, yeah.
Right. Now, this is why I talk about in my book why I feel that Akhenaten is Thoth. It's because Thoth says the same thing in the Emerald Tablets and in other writings of his. It's such a crazy connection between Akhenaten and Thoth that you're like, this has got to be the same being. It's got to be the same being, which is why I feel that, because remember in the Emerald Tablets, Thoth talked about how he said sometimes he appears back in his Atlantean body and sometimes he appears back in human bodies. Okay?
Wow.
Talks about how he can do that. Now, Akhenaten, when he came to the surface, people say that it's almost like Akhenaten came out of nowhere, and nobody knows how his body is the way that it was. And I feel that it had to do with his Atlantean body that he speaks about in the Emerald Tablets, because Thoth also talks about how he was the one that built the Great Pyramids, and how he also was the one that constructed the Sphinx. And when you go into some of the 18th Dynasty art work that Akhenaten did, he was the only pharaoh that you see him having himself as the Sphinx. Now, a lot of people say, oh, well, Khufu was the one, but Khufu doesn't have artwork like how Akhenaten had artwork in regards to the Sphinx. Now, getting back to the Aten is what Nibiru is, or what people want to call Planet X. That is what, because there is, like I said, the temple that was built in Armana is facing the west. Therefore, it can't be a sun temple. Now, right. Now, later on, I ended up finding out and getting confirmation of this because Zechariah Stitchin, in one of his books, I believe it's The End Times, and he talks about how the Aten has a lot to do with Nibiru too. So
yeah, it's a good book. I actually have this whole collection on my shelf, and it's I believe page 180. He talks all about the winged disc and how it was like originally he thought it was Nibiru, but he eventually started to come to the conclusion that it was the god of the Anunnaki. So it's hard to say whether or not like the Anunnaki are really doesn't really go into that, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just put a slide on the screen that makes me wonder because you were talking about thought and how he gets knowledge or he passes on knowledge to people. So have you
Mm-hmm.
ever seen the temples in Dara, how they have that really fancy thing on the ceiling, like one of the
Yeah,
murals?
yeah,
Well,
yeah, man. Yeah.
yeah, that's the picture I put up on the screen. Is there was like a whole bunch of Egyptian pharaohs that would all line up next to a giant
Mm-hmm.
mirror on the other side of the mirror. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
does that imply that the Anunnaki use reflective surfaces as some sort of communication device? Or maybe it is like a Star Trek, like a teleporter, and the Anunnaki actually travel through mirrors. And then I found an Assyrian version of the sacred tree, and lo and behold, it shows the winged disc god standing inside of a giant mirror, and the wings are on the side of it, almost implying like, yeah, there is a connection between these summoning mirrors and the winged disc. And I don't think that rules out the whole possibility of spaceships, because there's some ideas that the Anunnaki needed ways to communicate with the Earth. So they would do it with reflective surfaces, shamans, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, we got to think too. Like a lot of things that are symbolic, it is a particular. What exactly that is? I mean, I don't even know if we even have any kind of information to even like cross-reference that. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I try not to get too. I don't know if you can see me still. Okay,
Yeah,
there it is.
I think you cut out for like 2 seconds, but you're back.
Okay, hold on one sec. Let me.
Oh yeah, it looks like the camera moved a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
Well, it's all good. I'll just talk for a little while you correct that. Yeah, I
Okay.
was just gonna show that the mirror actually has the eye of, I guess that's the eye of Horus, known as a symbol for protection. So it's like, why would this mirror that's being used to communicate with the Anunnaki require protection? I was like, oh, maybe there's like some sort of like protection needed from entities that are harmful on this communication method. Almost like how you can get a virus on the internet if you're, right? And we have like what is it, an antivirus symbol on the bottom of the screen that's like the same type of symbol of the Eye of Horus.
All right, man. I'm back on.
All right, sick.
Yeah.
What do you think about the eye and the protection symbology?
You know what, man? A lot of the omelets and a lot of the symbols, they're a lot of it was taught in the mystery school on how to harness not only power but energy, man. And so you know what I mean. So there's a lot of things, like for instance, like going back to, let's say, Peru, and we find a lot of like symbolism. A lot of people say, oh, well, maybe these symbols were here to, show someone like a location of where they may be. Okay, well, that could be a case too, but what if that was something ritualistic that they did to bring in or harness some kind of energy, some kind of power?
Yeah,
And
that's
so
what Draco Stonehenge is all about up north. We found out
yeah.
that it's harnessing dormant supervolcano energy, and there's so much energy there that it's actually the most in all of Canada. So I don't think it's a coincidence. And the First Nations people also talked about how it was used to collect energy. So maybe that's where we're coming to the point where these megalithic structures all over the world are harnessing energy. And where this energy is coming from, is it Sirius? Is it Draco? We really don't know yet, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think one thing that we can pinpoint is Sirius has a lot to do with Earth and the development of Earth than anything. And then also, too, Orion, because we have the pyramids of Giza that are, that were once aligned up with Orion. And the ancients talked about these beings that came from another, world or whatnot. And they said that they came from the Orion and Sirius system. And then, like you said earlier, we talked about the Dogon. Dogon said the same thing. So it's like certain things we can't overlook, and people overlook it because they're like, well, the people who are in power, or the people who are supposed to be the
Now it looks like we just got a bit of a lag there for a second. I'll refresh it here and
As,
just show.
as time, we're going to see more and more of how this truth is actually real. Because we, like I said, we have this otherworldly DNA in our body because it doesn't originate here. Scientists already said that this DNA that lays dormant in our body does not originate from Earth.
Yeah. I often wonder if like the other realms decided that they wanted to habitat the Earth, but they couldn't come here directly, so they sort of created like a hybrid being that could take entities from their realm and transfer them into this world. Put on the screen too just the image, like it's pretty popular. They got these big shafts going in the Great Pyramid and they don't know what they were used for. Well, it turns out that those shafts point at Sirius and Orion's belt and Draco. So it's like makes you wonder if like the Great Pyramid was connecting to Sirius somehow, right?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, Sirius has a major influence on this particular planet, big time. Most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got one more slide that I really wanted to show to symbolize some of the Sirius connections. I'll just see if I can find it here.
I was going to ask you because I can't see what you're showing right now, so I don't know if.
Yeah, I'll try to describe it as best I can, and then maybe afterwards you can watch it again if you need to check out the images.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'll get the upload going soon, as soon as we complete it here. Alright, well I don't have that image handy anyways. So yeah, I guess that the chat's full of like a whole bunch of people that are giving thumbs up and loving the show, so I figured I'd just tell you about it in case you're not able to see that.
Yeah, I'm not able to. Yeah.
The most chat I've had going for a show yet.
Nice, man. Nice.
So I guess we're going to be coming close to... Oh, is there any other topics that you wanted to talk on about before we start wrapping up?
Let's see. I guess one of the things I want to talk about, kind of going back to the ancient, knowledge that was once here on this planet, man, is we have to, I believe we have to build upon a foundation. Not only a ancient one, but this also has a lot to do with the future of this planet. Now, I know a lot of people, speak upon like, oh, we need to leave, and stuff like that. But what if that's not it? You know what I mean? I mean, how do we truly know that? Are we going off of this truth based on just us maybe doing some kind of shamanistic things or some kind of, because don't get me wrong, I'm all about things in the unseen realm, I'm all about the metaphysicals and stuff like that, but I guess for myself, I try to stay grounded in this earth, man, because I feel like there's so much here that we're missing because we've been told to focus outside of here, man, and this is home to me. And it's home to a lot of beings, man, that have been here and stuff. So I just encourage people to follow their heart, man. Because your heart will never lead you in the wrong direction. And it doesn't matter if we agree that there's other life here or not, because a truth, will eventually be known on a mainstream level. And even when it's known on a mainstream level, people will still deny it. And that's even found in the book of Revelations. The Anunnaki talk about it in Sumerian tablets. The Egyptians talk about it on the Egyptian walls. So there's even things even in South America that's been found. So, humanity, there's things humanity are going to doubt and deny. And that's okay, because we're all here to experience life. So therefore, there really is no debate, no argument. I think that we just need to focus and be in the now. That's so important, to be in the now, be in this moment right here where we're at, because the now affects both the past and the future. So that's my encouragement for people, man.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah, man.
You can always plan for the future and dwell on the past, but really the present is where it's at.
Yeah, the present is where we're at. The only thing I have right now, man, in this moment in time is right now. You know, if I go and I allow my energy to be all over the place, then do I get to master the physical realm? Am I being a master at the Earth school that we're on? You know, because to me, this is nothing but has been a 3,000-year experiment. You know, that we've called the Dark Ages. Now we're coming up out of that. So there's a lot of hope for the future than anything. It doesn't matter what's going on in the media. It doesn't matter what governments and presidents and whatever they're doing. Whatever. It matters about what we do. That's what's important. You know, because there's more of us than there's this, you know, small percentage of people that think they have some power. Because truth be told, they don't have nothing. They really don't. They really don't. It seems like it, but they really don't, man. And because we're going through that changing of the guards that happens every lifetime, and this is the one thing that we forgot, is that. So another future project that I plan to work on too, man, besides Disciples of Horus, is soul memory. So I'm going to talk more about soul memory and how we tap into soul memory, man. Because by me tapping into soul memory, things that I've seen clairvoyantly or things that I've seen in a trance, because one of the things I've realized is that I have these shamanic trances that I go into. And when I go into it, man, I kid you not, the whole physical world changes, man. And I don't even know how it even happens, bro. Like, it's almost like I shift into a whole other reality. I've seen beings that, you know, I'm just like, where did you come from?
No,
you know?
I can relate to that, because I did shamanic work, or at least I used to years ago. And I've seen the other entities even. I don't know if you've ever encountered those before, but man, they have connections to the Anunnaki religion as well. So it's pretty wild stuff.
Yeah, so I try to balance both the physical and the spiritual world, because the light beings. Here's something very interesting, man. There is a nonprofit organization, and shout out to them, that they have done this documentary. They do what's known as remote viewing, and remote viewing is something that has been around since, like, I'm gonna say like 95. I think the military sort of tapping into it, you know, and then they shut it down because they didn't want people, you know, to know, like, oh, hey, yeah, we can't be. Yeah, let everybody know.
To out-of-body experiences, and there's a popular Hollywood movie called The Men That Stare at Goats, and that was all about remote viewing. Yeah. So remote viewing is real, and it's even proven, you know, even on a scientific level as well. And so they speak about, they did a documentary, and they talked about how when they were seeing the Ark of the Covenant, which was a Anunnaki communication device, okay, that there were these light beings that were around the Ark of the Covenant. Yep. So not only did you have physical beings around it, then you had these light beings that were around it too, man. And that's some, yeah. I don't want to get too heavy into it, man, but it's a great documentary. I'll have to send it to you, man, so you can check it out. Sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more information about the light beings. It's a touchy subject, because light beings are also associated with pure evil. Like Lucifer was apparently a light being, but I don't know. I have a feeling that the light beings are more neutral and sort of like responsible for carrying out God's plan, sort of thing. So sometimes they're going to be doing good, sometimes they're going to be doing bad. Whatever takes us to the final end game, I guess, for what God has planned. Yeah.
Well, you know, to me, man, I think once we kind of, as we grow into more information. I know for myself, I have got out of the concept of good and evil, or what's good and what's bad, and more on a universe concept of balance, of
creation,
let's say
destruction.
right, exactly, man. And to me, the middle path is what people want to call the Age of Horus is about, man. Is finding that gray area, that middle path where you learn from both the light and the dark. Because I don't associate dark with evil. Evil is its own thing. Dark is more something that's mystery and unknown, and some people are scared to dive into what's unknown, so therefore it's dark. This is unknown. It's the mystery, okay? But once you shed light upon it, and the only way you can shed light upon dark is what? Through experience. So, and this was what was part of the whole during the initiation of the mystery school, man, was being initiated into unknown information as a student, and then you coming into light by you being aware of it. You know, so I'm trying to have a different take on the whole dark and light information that, let's say, we've all been kind of, I guess, you know, diving into, and bringing more of a middle path kind of a concept of, I need both to be balanced. Because me trying to fight and think there's a battle between the dark and light, I'm always going to be in that battle, you know? Yeah. So where does the harmony come from? The harmony comes from accepting different paths, you know what I mean? And understanding that, you know, we need to have both, you know? We need both. And to, like I said, to associate, you know, dark with doing evil things like causing harm to people, that's not dark, that's evil. The minute you want to cause harm to anyone, that's evil. That's not dark. That's not darkness. That's dealing with evil. And evil is what man has indulged in for 3,000 years, man. It's evil, not darkness. But it's been dark because the knowledge of what we know of as of today has been lost because of evil deeds men have done. Which is going to be corrected, man. You know?
Yeah, let's hope so.
Yeah. What are the people?
I was just gonna say, like, we got forests here in Canada that are like pine forests, and people tried to conserve them and stop forest fires, but they ended up finding out that the forest fire is required to keep the forest alive, because a lot of the trees require like a cycle of burning and then regrowing and burning and regrowing. So in Canada, we've actually started allowing some of the forest to burn, and it's like, we've reached the understanding that there is a balance between creation and destruction. You just can't have one or the other, or it won't work.
Yeah, yeah. And another thing we have to realize too, man, as being human beings on this planet, is Mother Earth, man, is a biological being who is super intelligent, okay? I think one of the things that blew my mind years ago was I had went to the Science Center, and I was talking to this guy about trees, and he told me something very interesting about trees, which also can even you can even reference to something that Buddha even talked about when he had meditated against the tree and obtained wisdom, is that he said that trees communicate with Mother Earth through the root tentacles. Okay? So trees are very prophetic. They're prophetic because they know when a limb is going to break in the future. So it grows out a certain way so it can break off the way that it foresees in the future. And the only way it knows that is because Mother Earth tells it.
Yeah, there's that sacred tree again that the Crazy Horse was talking about in his prophecy.
Yeah. So our way of reconnecting to Mother Earth, to the source, is, think about it. One thing Jesus did was that he walked around barefooted. He was healing what? Barefooted. Why? Because our feet are portals. Okay? We connect.
The grounding,
yeah. And I remember I was meditating, man, and I had this I was, you know, connecting with the planet and connecting with Mother Earth, man. One thing she says is that she connects with us through our feet, and that's something that we lost. And that's something that, going back to the Mother Goddess, that's something that the priestesses and the women of ancient time taught us, you know, because they were the ones who enlightened us into the mysteries and into nature, man. And one thing we lost through nature is the connection with Mother Earth, man, with our feet, man. That's why every time I go to the beach, I'm taking off my shoes, I'm connecting with the water, I'm connecting with the ground. Not only that, though, but even if you meditate just for 5 minutes, man, for a day, just being barefoot on the ground and just, you know, breathing in Mother Earth, man. I mean, you would have such an amazing, energetic, you know, experience just by doing it.
Oh, yeah.
5 minutes a day, man. That's all it takes. You know, so we have to get.
I tried it up north, actually, too.
Okay.
When I was up there, I heard about the grounding technique.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, let's try walking around in bare feet around this Draco Stonehenge and see what happens.
Oh, man.
And then that night when I went to bed, all I started seeing was flashes of like these ancient images in my eyes. I never had anything like that happen before or since. And then I tried going back and walking around in boots. Nothing like that happened. So
yeah,
there probably is something to that.
Oh yeah, man. Our feet, you know, are connectors, man. It's a portal. You know, that's why, you know, I feel that if, especially if you are a healer, you know, it's best to heal outside in nature and be barefoot. You're going to do any kind of healing, any kind of crystal healing or Reiki and stuff like that. I know a lot of people, they do a lot of things indoors, but try doing Reiki outside barefoot.
Yeah, Jesus was about that too, wasn't he?
I mean,
to have his services outdoors. He didn't like to go in the temple.
Yeah, yeah, and apparently, according to some of the books that we have, the 18 missing years, you know, he didn't become a prophet not until he, you know, went through the Egyptian mystery schools, and also became a prophet. Yeah, so he learned Egyptian magic just like Moses. Very interesting. Yeah, it's funny how Akhenaten and King Tut did the same thing.
Yeah, it's like we keep running into the same conclusion over and over again. So many different cultures.
Yeah.
It's like, geez, how are we still like debating this? It's like,
man, yeah, it's just, you know, it's just silliness, man, because we haven't grown up. Is what the problem is. You know, there has to come a point where we have to grow up, man. And I truly believe and look forward to this being a lifetime where we're going to go to the next level, man. You know, and it's already been foretold, man. It really has. You know, so, you know, those of us that are, you know, doing the work like we are, you know, be encouraged, and we are the ones to make the difference. You know, we have to put ourselves in certain positions to make a mainstream change, and that's what I know that I plan to do, man, with my organization, with this movement that I've been working on for the past couple of years, and to take it to a mainstream level because of my background being in Hollywood. So I understand marketing, I understand, you know, video production, and you know, we got to thank platforms like YouTube and like social media that we have to be able to do these things, man, because we're able to not only connect, but also build a better community, you know, because our communities are broken, you know, because there is no love, man. You know, we need more love on the planet. I don't know how many times I got to keep expressing that so much, is that love is the key to all this stuff, you know, but if we're going to keep, you know, fighting over skin tone, bro, skin tone doesn't determine who's more spiritual. You know, people are like, oh, well, you know, because I'm vegan, I'm more spiritual than you are. You know, it's like, what is this silly stuff, man? It's goofy. It's goofy, man. It really is. You know, when everything has to do with within. Okay? It's really about within, man. And as within, you know, gets accepted, and the individual person, because one of my classes that I plan to teach is going to be on self-love, and that's going to be a big healing factor for a lot of people, man. Once you have that self-love, then it's like you start to understand unconditional love, and that's one thing that happened for me, man. I didn't understand love like how I do now, and I understand it on a more of an unconditional level because I was taught love based on conditions. Oh, if you don't do this, then I'm not going to love you. Oh, you're not going to, believe me on this, or you're not going to be on this path, and I'm not going to love you. I'm going to shun you away because you don't believe or whatever, bro. And then he's saying people want to be like, oh, but God loves you, or I love you, or that's that BS, man, and that's fake love to me. That's not real love. Real love is acceptance and accepting people and encouraging people on the path that they're on. Because I learned from everybody, man. I learned from a 3-year-old.
Yeah, how's that?
During this time, man, when I was awakening, and it was this the priestess who had helped awaken me and everything. Her daughter, man, she called her a rainbow child.
Okay.
And yeah, and at the time I was going through something, man, and this girl came to me, man, and she had blew on my heart, man, and told me, she was like, you're a big star in the sky. And when she blew on my heart, I felt the purest love come out of this 3-year-old, man, that I had no choice but to cry, man. I cried off of just her just blowing on my heart, man, because what she did was, it was healing my heart, man, at that time, and I needed that.
Yeah.
So we can't shun away the youth, man. The youth are being shunned away, and man, we have to pay attention to everyone, man. Just because you're older and just because you're up in age don't mean you got knowledge or you got wisdom. Don't mean that you know it all. Because, age, earth age, how many years you've been on the planet, don't mean nothing. Because these souls, if you have one, these souls way, way older than these human bodies are.
Yeah.
And that's
Mm-hmm. The future, the young people are basically going to be taking over the planet for us. And we're calling them a lot of bad things, like spoiled and entitled, but like really, they've inherited quite a mess that was created. So I don't know how much entitlement they really got, because like heck, the amount of debt that's affecting everyone, and I don't know. It's like I think we really got to give young people more credit, and hopefully this is going to be a change for the better in the near future. Yeah, I'd just like to say thanks for coming on the show, and it's like everything we've talked about on today was really awesome. It's like got so many wicked questions from the chat there. That was really cool too.
Awesome.
I've got your website up on the top of the screen going in a ticker, but I guess if you wanted to mention it again, just so if anyone's listening to audio.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, man. You can go to HOTSW, so hotsw13.com. And that's my website. I have a lot of stuff on there. It has a link to my book on Amazon. I also have a sign-up link that people can go to if they're interested in doing the mystery school program that I plan to be teaching on and doing. Let's see. Also, too, if anyone has any questions, want to reach out to me, they can always email me. My email is hotsw13@gmail.com, so people can email me there. I'm always up on social media, so if you look up Lucious Lyran on Facebook, on Instagram. I'm mostly on Facebook and Instagram most of the time. I really don't do too much Twitter, but Instagram, you can look me up, Lucious Lyran, and you'll be able to see me up on there. So.
Sick. And people are able to get an autograph copy of your book, or just ordering off Amazon?
Yeah, so I'm doing something, man. Okay, so if people go to my website and if they subscribe, I'm giving away 13 books, man. That's going to be autographed, So they go to my website and they go and subscribe, and I think I have a section in the notes. They just put down book, and then I'll know, and then I'm going to be giving away some books, man.
Oh, that's cool. That's really nice of you.
Yeah.
And that website again was hotsw13.com. And I said
correct. Yes. Uh huh.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I hope maybe I can get you back on the show again sometime to do this, and hopefully I can make sure the audio is working a little bit better. Sorry about that at the beginning of the show.
Oh, it's all good, man. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and yeah, I guess that's everything for today. You didn't want to add
Awesome.
anything last, or you're all set to go?
Yeah, I'm all set to go, man.
Okay.
Thanks for having me on the show, man. And yeah, man, I hope everyone have a blessed day. For
Okay,
sure.
yeah, thanks a lot, Lucious Lyran, and nice to meet you. And
You too.
hopefully everyone else goes to your website and checks it out.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
Okay, thanks a lot. Take care, man. Have
All
a
right.
good night.
You too.
Thanks.
You too, man. Uh huh.
Okay, everybody, that was Lucious Lyran we had on the show. Yeah, and just want to apologize again there for a little bit of the technical issues I had going. It's like everything I upgraded in the studio was one of the first tests I did with an actual live guest, so there's going to be a little bit of technical hang-ups here and there, but I think we got pretty much everything resolved. And I really appreciate all the comments in the chat there, everyone. It's like that was sick having all this participation. It's like really that's what I do this show for, is to share it with people. And if I'm doing it and no one's watching, it almost seems useless. It's like it really means a lot to me. Yeah, and I'm gonna wrap up the show now. And if anyone wants to help share it, I really appreciate it. YouTube, if you can subscribe to the channel, that really helps a lot too. Because if I get 1,000 subscribers, it's like it opens up a bunch of new features, and then I'm able to get better guests on the show, or even more TV celebrity type guests. I shouldn't say better, because some of the people not on TV are actually really good too. So, but anyways, yeah, hopefully I can get some more big guests on the show like Lucious Lyran, and hope everyone checks out his website and contacts him or likes him on Facebook, and checks out his YouTube channel too. I'll include all the links for that in the show after I manage to wrap it up here. And yeah, I hope everyone had a good, enjoyed the show. It was really nice to be back. And yeah, I guess I'll see you for the next guest. I'm not sure when the next one's going to be. I'm trying to do more shows. It's been a little bit burnt out with work lately, so it's basically one show a month right now. But once we get into winter, I think I'm going to push that up to a show every week. So that's the goal I'm looking forward to. All right, thanks again, everyone, and have a good night and a good weekend too. Take care.